Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Wharton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Wharton.
Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 172. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with today's special guest, Elizabeth Goddard. Elizabeth specializes in strategy and delivery of content for awesome online businesses, focusing on the user experience so her clients get better engagement, results, and sales. You probably didn't start your business to stay on top of or be elbow deep in tech and systems, but she did. And the most exciting thing that we're going to be talking about today is that in June of 2016, she was invited to become one of the first 4 ConvertKit certified experts. And we'll be talking about what the heck is ConvertKit and why you might need it. So welcome, Elizabeth.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to be talking to you about this.
Yes.
This is fun stuff. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your background and your business journey and how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. So in 2013, I had chronic fatigue syndrome and I was very unwell. I was too ill to work. I was living on disability benefits. I'd just dropped out of my master's degree and I just didn't really know what I was going to do. And my friend introduced me to the world of lifestyle design. And here were all these people, which led me to the world of online business. And here were all these people like working from home and traveling and running fun businesses from their laptops. And I hung out in this world for a little while and I decided that whilst I didn't want to go traveling, the idea of being able to make some money, have a business from my laptop in my bed as opposed to an exotic location was very appealing. So I started a business called The Pillow Fort, which is a shop, digital magazine, community blog with the aim of making chronic illness suck less for young people through positivity and fun.
Ooh.
And it went really well. Like I was able to make it still exists. I was able to make an actual difference in people's lives and people like me and able to make a little bit of money from it. And then in 2014, my health started to improve dramatically, largely, I think, to being in the online business world and then a bit more the spirituality world, looking at mindset, all that sort of stuff. It helped a lot. And I then had this crazy idea that I wanted to train to be a maths teacher because I was feeling a bit better. So I got accepted onto a maths teacher training course, fully funded, starting September 2015. And it was the start of 2015 and I had about 6 months to kill. So I looked at my skill set and I'm like, I could be a VA for a bit. I've got the skills that I had learned from starting the Pillow Fort, and I decided to advertise in the communities I was already in that I'm going to be a VA for 6 months. After 6 months, that's it. I'm gone. You can only possibly have me for 6 months. And it went really well. And I easily started to get some clients within a couple of weeks. I just couldn't remember why on earth I wanted to be a teacher. I'm just like, I'm getting paid to do what I was doing before, which is just sit and faff on the internet. Like, I'm being paid for it now. This is amazing.
And you're working from the comfort of your home, so it's not stressing you out.
Exactly. So within about 2 months, I was making more than enough to live off. I doubled my rates, hovering around fully booked. And I just kind of like handed it over to the universe. I'm like, you have until August to let me know if I'm meant to be a VA or if I'm meant to be a teacher. No rush. Just let me know whenever is good. By August, please. Thank you. And immediately everything started going wrong with the teacher training course because I had to do a preliminary maths course. And it was just the most stupid course I've ever done. And it was just so illogical. Like I wasn't spending the right length of time working on it, even though I was getting full marks in the tests. And I'm like, this is stupid. And then everything was going so well with my VA business. So I never took up my place on the teacher training course. And then come September, I was a full-time, accidentally permanent VA, which is different to how most people do it. Most people start as a VA and then a few months later actually shift into something else. But I started temporarily and moved to permanent.
But I love it because you've discovered that you love doing that stuff and that's all the stuff that people need help with. So that's perfect.
Exactly. Like I was spending, because I was working on the Pillow Fort, like I was working from home and I was spending all day faffing with tech and systems and business stuff online. And it made money, but not a huge amount of money, not enough to live off or anything. And then I could just translate that to people who actually had working like businesses. And yeah, I absolutely love being a VA and helping people. Like there is nothing more satisfying to me than being like, elbow deep in other people's businesses and tech stuff, especially because they're so grateful because they hate it so much and I love it so much. So it's the perfect business for me.
It's perfect. I love it. I love it. And also, I seem to have read on your website that Emma has left the corporate world to work with you as well. So that sounds kind of perfect.
Yeah. So Emma is my currently fiance, will be my wife in about 2 months.
Yay.
And she was working at the university, admin, just a fairly mundane admin job at the local university. And towards the end of last year, it just got to the point where I was so fully booked and my rates had increased so much. It just made no sense for her to be having this like static job, not that great pay, and just like come and help me. And then, but actually she also wanted to be a VA in her own right. So she kind of quit on zero and we just made it work. So she quit in January and then we went on a weekly trip to Iceland and then that was it. She was a VA and we're making it work. And I hated being, because I used to have to work 9 to 5 and then she would come home and spend evenings with her and I was restricted by her annual leave. And I'm just like, this isn't working for the lives we want to create together. And it's working now, both of us being self-employed. We have our own offices at home. Yay. And it's working. So it's very exciting.
I love that. I love that when a business helps everything come together for like partners, family,
Absolutely.
The whole thing. It's just perfect.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about ConvertKit. What the heck is ConvertKit and why do people need to learn more about it?
So ConvertKit is an email service provider. And it allows you or people to collect people's email addresses and then send them newsletters in the simplest form. So it's like MailChimp, it's like Aweber, GetResponse. It's a little better than those though. But then there's really fancy ones like Infusionsoft and Ontraport that are all singing, all dancing. But most businesses don't need that level of features. So ConvertKit is a really great middle ground. I started exploring ConvertKit in only January this year. And in February, I made the move myself from MailChimp to ConvertKit for the Pillow Fort list. And about 2 months later, I set up a ConvertKit specific services page on my website because I'm a VA and I'm like, I can work this now, so I'll help people with it. And I was the very first person to actually create a page specifically for ConvertKit services, which was really cool because I continue to dominate at the top of Google for literally anything on ConvertKit.
Wow.
And I then emailed them to ask if they had any plans for a certification consultant expert program. And they replied back that they didn't. And a couple of weeks later, they invited me to be a group ambassador, admin, moderator in the official ConvertKit Facebook group because I was in there so much being helpful all the time. And I just love helping people with ConvertKit. And then about 2 months after that, they had me on a call and they invited me to become one of the first 4 ConvertKit certified experts. So from joining ConvertKit through to becoming one of the first certified experts was only about 16 weeks.
Wow.
And they had no plans for it. Like I fully believe I manifested the certification program into existence by asking them. And the night that I created my services page, I wrote in my diary, and usually, because I don't usually like write in my diary, but I wrote in my diary, set up my CK services page, also emailed them to ask if they're planning a certified partner consultant scheme. I'd love for something epic to come out of this somehow. I want to be the go-to VA for ConvertKit and OptimizePress. I'm thinking some collaboration so good I couldn't even imagine it. Thanks, universe. And it all came true. So that was my story with ConvertKit. So ConvertKit is an email service provider, as I said. The main benefit of ConvertKit over something like MailChimp or Aweber is that whereas they're very list focused and you have to create a different list for each different thing and you get charged for each person on each list, even if there are multiple lists, ConvertKit is subscriber centric. So you basically have one long list. You're never charged more than once for one person anywhere in your ConvertKit account. And then you have tags and segments to better divide up your list, know the information about the people. So instead of having lists, you kind of have tags.
Yeah, I think that makes so much more sense.
It does.
And I think for people, especially who have been blogging and using WordPress for years, it's a logical way of classifying people.
It is.
Because I'm surprised no one's done it before.
I'm not sure if ConvertKit were the first. I think they were the first of the affordable email service providers to start doing it. So there are comparable ones like ActiveCampaign and Drip, which I often get people to look at. ConvertKit isn't right for them for any reason, but ConvertKit is so beautifully simple and straightforward. It doesn't have loads and loads of bells and whistles, but most people don't need the bells and whistles, and it's the learning curve for it is so much easier because it's cut off most of the stuff that people don't actually need. So quite a lot of people, if you're at the place in your business where you've got a few different services, a few different offerings or courses, and you've got maybe a couple of content upgrades on a few of your blog posts, and it's just getting unsustainable to like coordinate 10, 12, 15 lists in your current service provider, then I think ConvertKit is a really great option, because quite often when people move to ConvertKit, when they've been struggling on with another system for too long, is that they massively reduce the cost of their service per month, because they had so many duplicates that they were paying for twice, 3, 4 times.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. And I think that's something a lot of people probably don't realize, that they're paying multiple times for just the same person.
And they don't realize that you don't actually have to do that.
There is another option. So what are other ways that people can know if ConvertKit is right for you and they might want to make a switch?
So some of the other really great features of ConvertKit, the deliverability of emails is through the roof. Like they've got some sort of witchcraft going on where they often, ConvertKit emails will land in people's primary Gmail inboxes. And MailChimp doesn't have a hope in hell of any email getting to someone's primary Gmail inbox. But ConvertKit, it will tail off a little bit, but for now, you can still get your ConvertKit emails into someone's primary Gmail inbox, which obviously massively increases open rates and click rates. I've migrated many people across to ConvertKit, and none of them have seen a reduction, and some have seen a very dramatic increase in open rates. I personally find it very easy to create forms in ConvertKit, because you only need one line of code. Quite a lot of other systems, you have to copy across quite a lot of HTML code, and then it goes a bit squiffy once it's on your website. But with ConvertKit, it's literally one line of code that you just pop on your website, and then the form is there. And I just find that very easy to use. Like I said before, it's very good for content upgrades, because each form, you can kind of attach an email to it. It will send one email from within the form. And whereas in the past, email service providers will, you know how it is when they're like, you must confirm this is your email address before we'll let you have anything good. You must confirm, is this really you? And it's really quite like harsh, how the language of it. But ConvertKit has turned that on its head very cleverly. And it's just like, oh, you wanted a free PDF? Here's the PDF. Oh, you clicked for the free PDF. Oh, this must be your email address then. Thanks for confirming. And it's completely changed things in like the email marketing space to have this much more user-friendly experience of double opt-ins and also giving them the free thing that they've signed up for. So it's really good for content upgrades. You can have single or double opt-ins straight away. You don't have to use another system like Lead Pages to get around the single double opt-in. And some people do want single opt-ins for very good reasons. It's a whole debate in itself, obviously, but it's definitely an option. And the thing that I really love about ConvertKit is automation rules. MailChimp, Aweber, other systems don't have anything like the way ConvertKit does it. So if you've ever used something like Zapier or If This Then That, basically how it works is if this thing on the left happens, then do the thing or things on the right. If someone signs up to this form, then add them to this sequence and tag them with this. If someone completes this sequence, then tag them this. If someone has this tag added to them, then remove this other tag and remove them from, say, a sales sequence.
If they click on this link, add them to this tag. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
And it's sometimes people, when they move to ConvertKit, it takes them a little while to sort of venture on to the automations page, and they're not quite sure why different parts of ConvertKit aren't talking to each other. But once people start to get into that automation page, I've had so many people tell me that ConvertKit almost makes email marketing fun again. It creates something, it twigs something in people's brains where they can get creative, being like, oh my gosh, how can I use this? And in the official Facebook group, people are posting all the time, if I wanted to do this, how would I set it up? And people like me love problem solving it, thinking outside the box. How can we make that happen with the tools we've got in ConvertKit? There's some other cool features in ConvertKit. For example, with a couple of clicks, it says one click, but it's a couple, you can resend an email to your entire list, to everyone who didn't open it the first time. So you just click resend it to people who haven't opened it, and then you change the subject line, and then you send it again. And that generally will double the open and click rates for an email. And people forget to use it in ConvertKit, but it's such a fantastic feature. Just leave it a couple of days and send it again, and so many more people. And you're not bothering the people who saw it the first time.
Exactly.
Very clever.
Now, would you recommend doing that for just general weekly newsletters, or more for kind of specific things?
Both. I'd say both. I generally would leave it at least 24 hours before you send again, because of time zones and things like that, when people are opening their emails. At least 24 hours, maybe even 48. Always make sure you change the subject line. And sometimes you may even want to change the first few sentences in the email. But yeah, you can use it for weekly newsletters, because you spent time creating this content. Like, you want it to reach as many of the people who've given you permission to contact them as possible. And it's a great way to do that.
Excellent.
A couple of other things. Each subscriber has what's called a profile page, and you can click in and you can see all the different forms they've signed up to, all the tags they've got, and you can see all the emails they've been sent, and as well as if they opened them or if they clicked them. So sometimes you'll get people being like, I didn't get this email, and you can go in and you'll be like, well, you actually clicked on a link in it at this time on this day, and then they go, oh, I didn't realize it was that email. And I'm like, yeah, that was the email. So you've just got so much more information immediately accessible. And lastly, the thing with ConvertKit I love is the love and devotion it has. There are very few systems out there that people feel so proud and passionate about as they do for ConvertKit. Lead Pages is probably one.
But I feel like Lead Pages is such a big thing now that it's not as personal.
I think initially the people who use Lead Pages swore by Lead Pages. Yeah. But people are very passionate about ConvertKit, and that leads to lots of it. The Facebook group is incredibly active. I'm finding new thoughts and ways to do things all the time in there. And it leads to improved email marketing, because people are so passionate about their system that they are then talking about the business side around it. And it's a pleasure to use ConvertKit and be part of the ConvertKit world. I truly love it.
Yeah, and I think you're very, very right there. But there's such a strong community, and so you can always get the help that you need. Whereas with a lot of other systems, it's just kind of this faceless entity that, you can do a search.
Because absolutely, ConvertKit was having a few troubles a couple of weeks ago. And it was Saturday and it was Sunday. And so many of the team were in the Facebook group dealing with the emails, trying to help people. They were all working on Sunday to get it moving again, get it correct, helping everyone, which I don't know of many systems that would work on a Sunday when there's a problem. I know so many of them. They're just normal people. They've got their own businesses. You won't find anyone who loves ConvertKit more than the people who work at ConvertKit. And I think that's very unusual.
Yeah, and I think that says a lot about the product and the organization. So how hard is it for someone to migrate from another system to ConvertKit? Do they need to hire someone like you to do it? Can they do it on their own? How does that work?
They can definitely do it on their own. Most people, I would say, migrate on their own. In the ConvertKit knowledge base, there are quite a few guides, including from specific systems. But some people, you can totally hire me or one of the other experts. And the benefit of that is you can be 100% confident that it's set up right the first time, and it's sort of built. We migrate and set up in a way that supports you scaling it, and we can help you, teach you how to use it. So there are benefits to hiring someone like me, but some people honestly like to figure it out. And I think it's very important. I passionately believe that people should know how to use their own email marketing system. Because sometimes I'll do a migration for someone, and then because they're my ongoing client, I continue to run it for them, and they never really know how to do it. And then I'm not around, and they'll send an email and they'll do it slightly wrong, and then it's a bit of a faff to sort it out. And I'd much rather they had known all along how to use it. So I think personally, a mixture of doing it yourself or hiring someone and then making sure that person you've hired to do it fully teaches you so you are comfortable. So in my migration package, for example, I do it for them. I record about a 30-minute video showing them everything they need to know in ConvertKit. And then I offer them 2-week support so that they can get in there, start playing around. And then there usually is quite a few different things will come up in that 2-week period. And then by the end of that, they are confident in using it and excited to use it.
I love it. So if someone wanted to do this on their own, how long do you think it would take them to do it? How many hours do they need to invest in that?
It depends how much they've got set up. It depends how many different ways people can come into their list, how many different things it's integrated with. I always advise that you set aside probably the best part of a day, 3-4 hours, maybe more. It depends how long you think a working day is, because that differs hugely between us, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And read all the stuff before you start. Read all the migration help articles before you start, and then calmly map it out and go through. The first thing people want to do, and they always do this, is move across the subscribers. That is the first thing. Everyone automatically wants to do it. It feels like such a quick win. It's actually the last thing you do. The very last thing you do in a migration is bring across the subscribers.
Yeah, I think I did it that way.
Yeah, no, I did it that way. Everyone does it that way. So that's my advice, to calmly read through it, map it out, and if you need any support, like post in the ConvertKit family. If you're like, sometimes people will be like, I'm just about to move across my subscribers. Can someone please confirm to me that they're not all going to get a weird email or something?
Yes.
And someone like me will just reply, yeah, it's fine, do it, it'll be okay. And then they do it, and then it's okay. So there's plenty of support out there. And I also have a check it for me service. So for people who do want to do it themselves, but then just want my eyes over it to check that it's actually all set up correctly and working in the way they think it's going to work, and the flow of subscribers through the ConvertKit account. So there's loads of options for moving to ConvertKit, right through from doing it all yourself to having someone completely handle it and everything in between. But it's not a complex system. People can do it themselves. I would never say that you need to hire someone to migrate, because it's not a complex system. That's the beauty of ConvertKit. Just, I can understand why people do want to have migrations done as well.
Yeah, I think it works very logically. So
once it clicks, there's usually a clicking point. Like, I'll have calls with people, like 30-minute calls where we just go over questions and stuff. And then I don't think I've done a single call about ConvertKit where someone hasn't gone, oh, I see. And then it's just all clicked. And usually it's on the automation rules page.
Yep.
That's usually where the clicking happens, and then it's happy days. It's sailing from there.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this. I think that's given people a clear idea of what it is and whether they might not, whether they might want to migrate. Now, I just want to make the point that I've seen people migrate from MailChimp to ConvertKit, which I think is kind of an upgrade, but I've also seen people migrate from Infusionsoft, which is way more than they needed, kind of down to ConvertKit, because it's streamlined, helped keep the functions that they needed, but it got rid of all the stuff that they weren't even using. And it's so expensive, Infusionsoft. So
Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income. He was on Aweber, and then he went to Infusionsoft, and then he came back to ConvertKit. And he is a huge advocate for ConvertKit, having used Infusionsoft for such a huge, successful business. And if you don't need the bells and whistles of the bigger systems, and the trade-off for the bells and whistles is a much steeper learning curve. Like, generally, Infusionsoft, no one gets Infusion. You have to hire someone to help you start with Infusionsoft, and generally people will have to continue hiring someone to help. Not many people can actually work their own Infusionsoft, whereas virtually everyone can work their own ConvertKit. Sometimes they don't choose to for time and reasons, but anyone can understand it, really.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, that's why so many people call it Confusionsoft, because it's so, you get in there and you're like, oh my God, it does everything. What do I do? It's
really funny because my fiance, Emma, she's learning Infusionsoft at the moment. And I think she might go on to become like an Infusionsoft expert. And I'm just like, this is so weird.
Well, actually, that's perfect. You guys make even more so the perfect team.
Definitely.
So, Elizabeth, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women entrepreneurs who inspire you who you'd like to mention?
Absolutely. So when I started out with the Pillow Fort, the first investment I made and the first person to change everything for me in terms of how to do business my way was Rebecca Tracy from the Uncaged Life. I took her flagship group program called Uncage Your Business, and the permission I got in there to do business my way, I have kept with me all the way through my VA business. Like, I don't like blogging. So she's like, well, don't blog then. And I'm just like, but I have to blog. And she's like, no, you don't. And I don't blog. And it's living proof that you don't have to blog. And so Rebecca Tracy, The Uncaged Life, she's so good for foundations and clarity because a lot of people jump in with business like way too advanced. Like they're just like, well, I need to pay a fortune for a website and I need this and I need that. And it's just like, no, you need to actually know what your business is and who you're going to help and be able to articulate that. That's the foundation. So Rebecca Tracy all the way for foundations. Someone that has completely changed my life and I can't imagine a world without her is Denise Duffield Thomas. We met actually at her Lucky Bitch event, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes, her London Lucky Bitch event. And so I got into her Lucky Bitch Money Bootcamp as a bonus for doing B School.
Okay.
And I haven't even finished it. I've got to like module 3 and it's a way of life for me. I actually paid for Emma to join because I needed her on that money mindset journey with me. I needed her to be on the same train, that we're building the same abundant, successful life together, which was one of the best decisions I ever made, to spend that much money to put her into a group that she's also never done the course for, really.
But at least she gets it now.
Yes, and the other, I did so much work on my money mindset. It really helped my health, which was a mindset is all like, you can talk about money mindset and health mindset and business, all different types of mindset, but ultimately, if you work on one bit of mindset, as I'm sure you know, all the other bits of mindset, it seeps into every part of your life positively. So Denise Duffield Thomas. And lastly, my coach at the moment is called McKenna Johnston. And I really like her. She's my coach. And she is another person who really allows me to do business my way. She doesn't force me to do things that I don't want to do. There's none of this is the strategy, follow this exact strategy, you will have this success. Like, she is not like that at all. She actually became like a little bit famous in the online business world recently because she bought Julia Child's house in France.
Oh.
She's not really she's like a really famous American cook. I didn't know who she was.
Yeah, very famous American cook.
Apparently it's a huge deal. I didn't know. But she bought Julia Child's house and is setting up a cooking school there. Wow. And it was all done on a bit of a whim, but she follows her intuition so deeply, and she knew that was the right thing for her to do. So she just shifted her entire business and went and got the investors and bought this house in France and is opening a cooking school. And that wasn't on the cards, but that's what she went and did. And I really enjoy being around her energy in that sense of, you've got to do what's right for you, even if it doesn't actually make that much sense and people tell you it's the wrong thing to do. So those are the 3 that I look up to and have learned a lot from.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. So tell us how people listening can work with you, because I know you've got not just the one-to-one work, but you've got a new program. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So technically I'm a VA. I haven't taken any new clients on for a little while now. I focus solely on ConvertKit and Optimize Press, although sometimes people will hire me for one of those and then be like, can you fix this thing on the website? It's been bugging me. And I'm like, sure, I can totally do that too. So I have a number of one-on-one packages. I offer one-to-one training sessions on Skype. I offer full migration, check it for me service. I can also create forms and email templates. And I also can do ongoing VA support for ConvertKit. So like ongoing help in that way. And last month I launched ConvertKit Club, which is a monthly membership site to support people who use ConvertKit to make the most out of it. A lot of people will migrate to ConvertKit and then then they'll sort of have a rest because it was, it's a process to migrate anywhere, like an energetic process. And then they will just sort of play with a couple of the features, but they know it does more, but they're not. Very few people are maximizing ConvertKit's full potential. So each month there is a full monthly training on something in ConvertKit. And then there's a Facebook group, and I want to support everyone to set it up for their business each month, so that the information about 1 month we might look at creating a beautiful email template for your business. And one month there'll be a training on, I've just done a training on organizing subscribers and all the different theories and philosophies and ways from my experience in organizing ConvertKit subscribers. And we might do nurture sequences and make sure everyone's got a proper nurture sequence. There's also a Facebook group that's really active and people ask questions in there all the time, which I love helping them. And the other thing that ConvertKit Club's allowing me to do is create a growing library of little training videos. The ConvertKit knowledge base is truly fantastic, but it is predominantly text. And some people like following it through and they're like, but it says clicks and I don't know where they meant to click. I can't see it. They're missing a step. So I'm creating videos in ConvertKit Club to do that.
Excellent.
And
I think that's really important.
And challenges and all sorts of other good stuff that I want to create. It's basically my hub for everything I think to create ConvertKit related.
Yay.
So that's ConvertKit Club.
Excellent. So Elizabeth, where can people find you online? Where's the best place for them to check you out?
My main website is elizabethgoddard.co.uk and ConvertKit Club is just convertkitclub.com, and everything is on one of those two places. Excellent. Everything can be found from there.
And what social networks do you hang out on?
I'm starting to use Facebook a little bit more. For the longest time, I just backseat the page and then just put up go and check out my website. But so Facebook, and I have a new Facebook page for ConvertKit Club with Elizabeth Goddard. And then personally, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Not so much business, but I think my life's kind of interesting. So I'm happy for people to follow and friend me on there as well.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I think this was super, super useful.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. And remember to visit hollywharton.com/172 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed at hollywharton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.